Ministry. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you for coming to watch us.
We have a very special guest tonight, don't we?
We do.
One
We
of his
told you
friends.
we would give you something special this week. Since we weren't able to do it last Wednesday, we figured we'd bring you a little special gift this week. So it's my friend Emma. And where does Emma work?
Emma works at the May Stringer House out in Brooksville, Florida.
One of the top 5 haunted places in Florida. And she's a tour guide. She does afternoon guides, and then she does paranormal guides at night. We should bring her on.
You know what? I think we should let her tell us what she does.
Right.
We have a lot to talk about. Welcome, Emma.
Emma, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Thank you for
Awesome.
giving us your time tonight.
Absolutely. This is fun.
We really appreciate it.
So we've been talking for a couple years about this Stringer House, back and forth on Facebook. This is the first time we've gone face to face.
Oh yeah,
Able
he's
to
got me
talk.
really excited about it.
Yeah.
I've caught her up on everything. We watched YouTube videos of the Stringer House. I've been a paranormal junkie my whole life. I've always known about the Stringer House, but I've never known like the inside and what happens in the Stringer House.
Oh yeah.
So you being here is awesome, and very appreciate you being here.
What better way to find out what happens in the May Stringer House than have someone who works in the May Stringer House?
So if nobody knows what the May Stringer House is, why don't you explain the house while I show the picture?
Okay, so this is the 1855 to 1880. It is a 14-room painted lady Victorian home. A lot of people like to say that it's a mansion, but it is simply not a mansion. Originally in 1855, when the first inhabitants built the property, which was John May and his wife Marina, there was exactly 4 rooms. And if you look all the way to the far right of that, there'd be 4 rooms. There'd be 2 windows all at the very end and 2 windows at the very top end. That is the original part of the house. So what you're looking at, there's the parlor, and above it is Jessie May's room. And then on the other side of that would be the communications room, as we call it today, or the master bedroom. And then below that would be the original dining room. And then when Dr. Stringer bought it in 1880, he added on the other parts to it. So it's the first window that you see closest to the door, the piece at the very top of it, the cupola, the widow's walk, the attic, and all the way to the left at the very bottom is the doctor's office, and above that is his bedroom. There's also a couple other rooms that you can see up inside of there as well that are not necessarily shown in that photo, just by looking on the outside.
Right. And this is in Brooksville, Florida. It's about mid-Florida, correct?
Not really mid-Florida, but it's in Hernando County. So
Okay.
it's just about maybe 20 miles away from maybe Citrus County.
Okay.
And then so it's in there, and it's really kind of in the hub of like the middle of Hernando County.
Okay. And Brooksville is really old. Like, you got a lot of history, just with the way the South used to be. They used to have
Oh yeah, the
not so
antebellum
much that
period
we're
and
gonna go
everything.
into, but
Even with the way that Florida was basically.
Well, what's really neat about that house is that it has gone through so much. There has been 2 Civil War heroes there, Dr. Stringer, who was a field surgeon, and Frank Saxon, who was part of the Brooksville Wildcats. He was injured, came back with the flag, and therefore became a local hero. And so that land was created by the Armed Occupational Act of 1842. And that's how John May picked it up through Samuel Wiggins, who had the property. And basically what that did is in 1842, if you were to build an establishment, which he did, the 4-room house, you farm something, it could be any crop, and you bear arms to keep the Native Americans off of it in 5 years. And if you did that for 5 years, you got 160 acres of land. So if you know the area, if you're looking at the Stringer's house, it goes way past the courthouse and all the way down the other side of the mountain where the exact locations are, we just don't know. But we do know that we did have the courthouse at one point in time on our land because we gave that land to the county.
That's awesome. Now, so you have, was it when after the last person, was it vacant, like before you guys turned it into a museum, or?
Yeah, basically what ended up happening in 1943, the last stringer sold the house and it became a private residence and also a rental property. And then eventually around in the early 1970s, it really became completely uninhabitable because it was falling apart, just expensive. And so what they ended up doing, it was in 1974, it was condemned when a man named Dr. Hensley bought it. And his intention was to bulldoze it down to the ground and build a medical facility upon it. Now, once that happened, Virginia Jackson, who's the founder of the Hernando Historical Association, grabbed that house from him by going around and getting donations of money, time, and both to secure that house. And we got it, I think, in 1980. And then from then on, we pretty much made it the oldest fully restored house in the city of Brooksville. And all the stuff that you see in it, all the antiques have been donated by the people of Brooksville and surrounding areas to help us keep it true to the 1850s and the 1880s. And we have an amazing assortment of people that come in there that love to do the tours, not only the ghost ones with the daytime tours, which we are looking for volunteers, by the way. So hopefully we will continue to keep pushing all of that wonderful knowledge of the city, the people that live there, are wonderful ghosts that we just love to death. And I have heard that it has now been considered the #1 most haunted house, not necessarily property, but haunted house in the state of Florida.
Wow. Oh, wow. I knew it was on the top 5. I just didn't know what number it was.
You guys have also done an amazing job at keeping up with it.
Oh, it's a beautiful house. I haven't been in there yet, but I have drove past it. And it's just jaw-dropping every time I go by it. It's just a gorgeous house.
Even just seeing pictures of it, I'm like...
If you also get a chance to, one of the best things that you can do is go in there for our Halloween event. Because our Halloween, we literally turn a haunted house into a haunted house. And every room has a theme. And there is a video floating around there. I'm not sure where it is, but I did a funeral last year in the parlor. And I actually laid in a cooling casket and woke up to people. So I try to make it as authentic as possible. So you might see me in a casket.
That's awesome. Now, what dates do you guys have a
specific?
The last Friday and Saturday of the month of October. So it ends the weekend of usually the October, right before Halloween. So it will be the last 2 weekends.
Do people have to make a reservation for that?
Not for that, but the entire museum is closed for those 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, do you guys accept donations or?
All the time. We need donations. That helps us out so much. It helps us keep the house looking great and doing new things for the community too.
Right. So we have the website. If you guys want to go into the website, what exactly does it have? The history of the house and where you can donate, or?
It does. There's a little link for that there. And it also shows our other properties because we also have the schoolhouse, the Countryman Schoolhouse. So it's a one-room schoolhouse. It's a really fun thing. If you ever get a chance to go down there, what they do is they take you through school like you're a student back in the 1800s. And you get to do everything just like they did back in those days. And then right next door to that is the 1885 train depot, which is also a haunted location. We do have people that go in there and do some investigations too. So that's really the heart and hub of Brooksville and how people even came to it.
Right.
My cousin, sorry, I just saw my
we have
comments.
We have comments.
Yeah, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm checking for comments because I'm blind. My cousin asked if it's also an Airbnb.
No, there is one across the street though. It's called the Dolan House.
Okay.
And there is a haunted place too. And there is a room that faces the stringer. It has got like a little balcony on it. That's the haunted room in there. So
Right.
you can rent that for a night and then come on over and make reservations if you have them to do the ghost tour with us. And so you get to go to one haunted place and go across the street to the other.
To go sleep.
Sounds like
If you
perfect
can
night.
sleep.
Yeah.
I
if
don't
you
know.
can-
I'd be too jittery. I'd be too jittery.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I get a little appetizer for Airbnb and then get to the main course as the stringer.
Mhm.
But okay, so you said that you guys have artifacts and things that are donated to people. So there's a chest up in the attic. And I know you guys have a ghost up in the attic that you guys call Mr. Nasty. So
Yeah.
is he connected to this chest, or did he come in with the chest?
We believe he did, because we don't really have much information on the chest other than it's an 1890s traveler's chest. Basically, that chest is something that you probably would have spent a lot of money on. In fact, it was probably one of the main features of the rich people of the Titanic.
Wow.
Unlike other chests, if you notice when you open them up, it's just a lid, and then there's like a big gap, to
Yeah.
put stuff down
It's
below,
like
like the little black one next to it. And then it has like sometimes a sliding piece that it can go on the top or whatever.
Yeah.
That one has actual drawers. The bottom part is for your shoes. It's got a back that has a false back as a window. And the false back, you could put like any type of like important papers or things that you don't want to see and people to know of. And then you can close it. And when you close it, it looks just like a regular chest, but it's a lot more organized.
Right.
Do you know the information about it? Like who owned it before it came to you? No?
All it says is 1890s chest, and that's all that was given to us. But once we got that chest is when our resident ghost, Mr. Gary / Mr. Nasty, started making his appearance.
Have you gotten a name from him?
Through our EVPs, it seems to be that's what they call him, is Gary. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, that chest has been there way longer than before I started to actually be a docent there, and that is what the consensus has been through the EVPs that were captured.
Okay.
Got you. And you said while we were talking before, you guys can go do them nighttime investigation. And you're not guaranteed. Well, first off, you're never guaranteed to find a ghost. You can't just turn it on. But you also said that you guys get activity during the day, also more during the day than night, or
it's really kind of a crapshoot. I mean, sometimes you do. For instance, one of the things that I've noticed, and it kind of like comes and goes, is that starting in the artillery room, or our war room, basically military room, we have this phantom body odor smell, and it has seemed to waft everywhere from maybe the kitchen area all the way down to the doctor's office. And there's never a rhyme or reason to it, but people have actually come in there, and I've seen like girlfriends like go and then they like smack their boyfriend, like, oh, you didn't put on deodorant. And they did, and it's like, no, that's part of this. And then one person actually had a decent potential debunk saying it's the uniforms. They're old. And I'm like, well, yeah, they are. Some of them are made out of wool. You can tell. But at the same time, they have been cleaned. This has never really happened that much before.
right?
It does go outside of the room. So how could it go outside of the room and be a part of that outfit? Now during the haunted house, we did move all the stuff out, and we had that gone. It disappeared, and it did not come back again until about February of this year. So it just recently started to show itself, and I have seen it since then, mostly around the underneath the World War I coat. But I have also seen it as far down as the bookshelf that's right outside of the military room, heading towards the doctor's office.
Wow.
So that's just one thing. I have come in there and seen our gift shop. We have this big table. It has been literally moved over to one side of the room, and nobody was in the place. Just a few days ago, I came in, and the entire house was lit up in like 3 rooms, which is kind of weird because nobody was there to open it. and it
Right.
was not left that way that night. So that was kind of interesting. People have also said that they saw a cat running around inside of the house during the day, sometimes during our daytime tours. We don't have a cat, but we do have a ghost cat.
Ghost cat.
You have a
We
name?
do. There was one time though, it was really interesting. I was sitting in the foyer waiting for anybody to come up. It was at daytime, probably around 2 in the afternoon, and I heard the door, like it sounded like somebody was knocking on it. Now there is wind. It's a 1800s door. It's probably just wind,
Right.
but the doorknob started shaking, going,
Wow.
and then I heard it pound. It was going bam, 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 and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I'm like, "Just come on in. It's open." And I went over there and opened it up. There was nobody there, and it did not do it again. I have never heard that happen again since I have been there.
Wow.
Next time that happens, you definitely gotta pull your phone out and be like,
I was also sitting in that same foyer, and I saw a shadow of a person sitting outside, and I'm like, well, let me go see what's going on out there. Maybe they want a tour. So I opened up the door to find out there was nobody there, just a shadow, and then it disappeared. So that was pretty interesting. Sometimes we smell like things like apple pie, and I want to say pot roast. I know pot roast is definitely one of them. And that comes out of the kitchen. Now, that kitchen hasn't been used in 40 years.
Yeah.
So to have that, it's kind of interesting. I have also smelled roses. I've smelled, which Mrs. Stringer loved roses. I have also smelled cigar pipe, and tobacco, any type of tobacco. And I believe that Frank Saxon and Dr. Stringer smoked. I also know that during the daytime tour, somebody took a picture of themselves in the kitchen, and there was like one side of the room here, one side of the room here, and then the docent was back over here to get the whole kitchen. When they took that picture, there is a full-bodied apparition of a woman dressed in black with a bun in her hair. And
Wow.
people have said that she's shown up out there and then went through the wall. Now, if that was anybody other than Mrs. Stringer, I would say it would probably be Morena, because at that point in time, that was the backyard.
Right.
So the kitchen didn't exist. The military room didn't exist.
Mhm.
So that was literally the backyard. So she may have been playing outside.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, you said that when Mr. Stringer got the house and rebuilt the addition, he did a hospital room. He had a practice in the house.
Yes, that's where he moved his practice to, is from Ybor City up to Brooksville there, and it was a one room. It's a big room. I know you have some pictures of that place there, and that's where he did all his practices. And he was known to do surgeries, even amputations, and it's very possible that one of those was done in that room.
So we have a picture of his table that he.
That's not his table. No, that came out of the Brooksville Hospital in the 1920s.
Oh, okay. So
There it is.
you said a lot of people around that Brooksville area was born on there, had surgery on there. Do you guys get any activity off of that?
I haven't personally, but that doesn't mean that somebody else hasn't. I mean, there's been over 20 years of investigations going on there, and it is quite possible that somebody did. I mean, just the energy alone, it is metal, which is definitely a conductor of energy as it is.
Absolutely.
People died on that table. People were saved on that table. And even if they didn't die on that table, that energy of them fighting for their lives
Right.
can
That
literally
trauma.
embed itself inside of there. You have a X-ray machine attached to it, which goes through the person and brands a picture, right? So, there's a possibility for a lot of that.
It's like an automatic imprint on the chair.
Exactly. And it's done through using nuclear
Radiology.
radiation.
Right. So you said that was this guest that took this picture? This is a picture in the same hospital room. This is what she sent me. Do you want to explain this picture?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had started my very first talking tour at the nighttime ghost tour. And when we were walking down, we just got out of the military room, and I had really tried to capture people's attention by showing them the intensity of what they were in. You know, people that were in the military did not see human beings at their best. It was really the worst of humanity at that point in time, and they were fighting for their lives. So that energy can be trapped in all of those outfits. When we moved into the doctor's office, I had walked in there and I was waiting for the group to come in. And as you see at the very bottom there's a guy in a red shirt. Well, he walked in and we were going over the surgeon's table that you just showed, and his wife walks up, stands in the door. Everybody else is still in the military room. She took a picture, which you see at the very top. Looks like nothing but just a regular picture.
Right.
Then immediately after, she takes a picture and goes, "Oh my God," I'm going to say it nicely. That's not exactly what she said.
Right.
But she ran up and showed me this picture. She goes, "You've got to see this." She goes, "Look." And so I did. And what I see is a soldier down below. Now, that was literally 3 feet behind me. And the reason that people have said it was a possible shadow, which is a good plausibility. So we were looking to the right. It is looking to the left.
Right.
Not only that, if it was a shadow, it would be opaque. So you'd be able to see the entire window below it because it's a backlit source.
And it looks like it's in the middle of the room, and there's
Exactly.
there's no one right there. It's
Which
not
is
connected
even
to anything.
crazier that you can see the little object in the
Incubator.
mirror or
Yeah.
in the window, and then is that a mirror under that?
No, that's a picture of that was a picture of one of the people in the I forgot who it was, but it's a picture of somebody from Brooksville. But that box up there is a incubator.
Okay.
So you can actually see that it took off a portion of that incubator. It is blocking that. So the light of what was there could not penetrate, and the backlight could not penetrate either.
You can
Now,
still
if you
see
were to
the
zoom in
frame.
on that picture, I mean, really close on your phone, you can see like a beret. You can see like a military uniform, backpack, all kinds of neat things.
Yeah. You can
So
see
I'm
that he
thinking
has
it's
a
from
hat.
World War One.
Okay. Is his hospital room right next to the military room?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, the military room is an extension of what we put on when we got the museum, because we had to have a bathroom. So we built the bathroom that you can enter through the military room or through the doctor's office.
Okay.
And so that was literally the outside. That door that was in Dr. Stringer's office and the one outside going into the military room was to the back porch.
That's
So
on the original house or the
on the original house, yeah. And then what we did is we filled that in and we made it into 2 different rooms so that we could have the requirements of the bathroom and a gift shop.
Got you. So I know you said that he built on an addition for the original house. You said that there is original family was buried right in the.
They're buried somewhere on that property, yes.
Right.
Where they are buried, we don't know. There are a couple of theories. Some of them were over by the gazebo, but over by the gazebo, underneath it is a well. And according to the plot that we have, that was the carriage house and the cookhouse. So that doesn't make a lot of sense why they would put them there, because that was still part of the original house, original part of the 4-room house. The other theory is right out the front door, right at the corner of the street there are a couple of divots that could easily have been graves. But it would not be common to put your grave right out in the front door where everybody's going to come by and see it.
Right.
They only buried you so deep. It wasn't until I think the early 1900s when they started to make it a mandatory 6 feet deep.
Right.
So you could literally be buried about 2 feet, maybe 3.
Right.
And that's unfortunately would bring a lot of grave robbers. So where you're going to have all your traffic, you don't really want to have all your people.
Right.
So is it plausible? Yes. Is it where they are? I don't know.
Right.
But my theory is that they're buried underneath the kitchen. But that's just a theory. I have absolutely no knowledge of that.
Right.
But that was the backyard where the kitchen is. And that's also where I see that where they have seen that picture of Morena or whoever that is in a morning dress
Right.
going through the walls, which didn't exist at that point in time. Generally, what they say is that like you have like a if you have a residual, it usually follows the path of the rooms. That's why sometimes it goes through walls and into other places. So if that didn't exist, she doesn't know that it's there. And it just keeps going through and playing over and over and over again.
That's
So
awesome.
I think that would be the most plausible place for them.
Right.
But it could literally be even underneath the street. It could be all the way in the back part of the property. It could be anywhere.
Now, how many acres does the Stringer house sit on? Do you
I want
know?
to say about 1 acre.
Okay. That's a good,
Maybe more, maybe less, but not too much difference between the two.
okay. So I want to give a shout out to Crystal for sending stars. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Let me see.
And David for sending stars. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys like what we're doing, all the money that goes to stars goes back to Underworld and lets us do what we're doing.
Sorry, I've got smoke right in my face.
Candles aren't working with us tonight.
No.
So there's another picture that we have going back to the chest. You said that you're not exactly sure what's in the little mirror, but can you explain this picture for me?
Yeah, so you showed the picture of me by the chest earlier.
Yes.
What I was trying to do was I was trying to get people, my friends, to come see it. And I know a lot of people know about Mr. Nasty. So I'm like,
Right.
well, here's the chest. Come see it on social media. And then when I looked at the mirror, I'm like, wait a second, there's something that's not right in that mirror. And so zooming in on it, you can see that there is a face looking at you in the mirror. You can see the eyes, you can see the nose, you can see the outskirts of the jaw.
Yeah.
What that is, I don't know. I have never been able to reduplicate that. I have gone into my exact spot, sat there, took the picture using the exact same angles, lighting, everything else that I had, and I have yet to be able to duplicate that
Wow.
thing. So there was nobody else in the room with me. I was the only docent upstairs because the other docent that was there wasn't one that could walk upstairs. So it was just me.
Got it.
And that kind of was like my very first physical photo that I have seen that is questionable. Is that a ghost? I don't know.
Right.
But it's weird nonetheless. And that was the same day that I got a scratch across my back when I was up taking that picture.
Show it.
Speaking of bruises and scratches, we got a couple pictures that you sent for us. What is the worst that you've gotten since you've started there?
It wasn't the scratches, believe it or not.
No.
That I could tell you in a second, but the scratches, I didn't even know I got scratched. In
Wow.
fact, the first time when I got home from my very first day that I had been there, I took off my shirt, going to get in regular street clothes, because we have to wear white and black, as you saw in that one picture.
Right.
That's the uniform basically. And it was Friday night. I'm not going to wear something that looks like I'm going to like church or school. So
Right.
I got into my regular clothes. So when I did, my spouse was like, you look like you got a bruise on your back. Did you hurt yourself today? I'm like, no, didn't even touch my back. I don't know what the heck's going on. So I looked behind me and you can see the scratch going right down underneath my bra line. And you can see the 5 lines of the people, of the fingers that go down it. Now I can't reach back there.
Yeah.
I have MS. So to be able to go back there and scratch, the most I can get is right at the very edge over here. That's about as far as I can reach. So to see that was weird. It was gone the next day. Like nothing ever happened.
Wow.
And then another time it happened when I was doing the first night of my ghost tour where I was speaking. The very same night we took that picture of the full-bodied apparition. You can, once again, this is the opposite side, see the 5 scratch marks.
Right. That's crazy. Now, do you think that's Mr. Nasty, or he has a habit of touching and groping females, correct?
He does, but I don't think that was him. It may have been him. It may not have been him. There's also another spirit up there named Catherine, and Catherine is a witch basically, and she can be a little bit aggressive, just like Mr. Nasty. I think Mr. Nasty is more of a womanizer and more of a I don't know how a jerk. I'll say it like that. He's more of a jerk. Try not to use bad words here.
Misogynist.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what he is. He'd be more the person like you would trip, fall, hurt yourself. And in today's society, when you did that, he would be videotaping you, laughing at you, and then putting you on YouTube. That would probably be more his MO than hurting people. But I have heard that people have been touched. I have heard that people have been having other things done to them. So it is possible, but I don't think it was him. I just don't.
Got you. Now, other than all you've had natural deaths in the house, obviously, the stringers, you said that unfortunately you've had a suicide in the house.
We did. We had a suicide in that house. It was one of the individuals that were a good family friend of the Stringers. Now, this is way after Dr. Stringer had passed away. This is probably like almost to 1920, right after World War I. A World War I veteran came home to find out that his fiance had married somebody else. And unfortunately, with PTSD mixed with that kind of news, he took his life, and he took it in the house.
Now, do you think that could be the soldier that you saw in the room, or?
Very easily could be, yes.
Do you see him, or does he make himself aware that he's there?
He does sometimes. He likes to play with people too. He likes women. He is a lover. He's a protector. It's been 104 years, 105 years since he's had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's getting a little lonely. But he will play with your hair, play with your neck. Sometimes he likes to grab your butt. He did grab my butt once, and I was very excited because that means he actually likes me. And it felt like a bunch of like static electricity in the form of a hand on your butt.
Wow. Kind of like you rub your feet on the floor and you little pop. Yeah. So what would you like to tell people about the Stringer house? Like, if people coming for, let's start with the day tour. What do you expect when you come to the day tour for the Stringer house? Okay,
so we do have, I call this the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde house. Okay, so I've told you a little bit, but I don't go into details about the stories because that's what we want people to come over there and experience with. But during the day, we're open from about 11 o'clock in the morning till about 2. The last tour is at 2:15. It's about an hour and a half tour. And what we do is we take you through the lifestyle of the people of Brooksville in the 1800s. You'll see all of the antiques. We'll take you through the history of the house, how it became the partitions, and how it grew over the years. We will take you through each room and give you a detailed tour of some of our favorite antiques, but anybody is able to ask a question about any of them, and we will answer that.
Right.
So it's really a fun tour. It's brighter. You can see things during the day. We very seldom touch on anything that is paranormal, except for we do talk about the doll and we do talk about Gary. But we won't tell you about the other things that have happened in that house because a lot of bad stuff has happened there. Right. And so that is the daytime tour. It's $10 to come in, $5 for children under 12. And it's a fun tour. And every time you go, you're going to see, and you have a different docent, you're going to have a different experience because each docent tells the story differently. Right. Some are more into these other types of antiques, whereas some of them are not. So you really get a balance of everything. You can experience paranormal stuff is we've had that happen. In fact, during one of my times, we were in Jessie May's room, and the door to the closet kept opening and closing. And I'm like, I wonder if the handler is on, because that's where we have our air handler. And I opened it up, and it was not on.
Wow.
And I moved away, and I continued with the thing, and it was opening and closing, opening. I'm like, this is really annoying. I said, please stop. And then it stopped.
Wow.
Everybody in the room, their hair went up on end, and one of the kids is like, that just listened to you. And they're like, I'm not going upstairs.
Yeah.
The next part is the attic. I'm not going upstairs. If this happened here, I am done. I'm out. And
Right.
so that was probably a pretty cool experience there too.
Have you ever had anybody run out of the house?
We've had a few.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've had a few. In fact, a lot of cops don't even like to go into the house.
Really?
Sometimes when our alarm goes off, they walk behind us, which doesn't say much, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Right.
In fact, sometimes when we have events there and we want to deliver pizza, they will not deliver it to the house. You got to beat them outside.
Wow.
It's got a lot of history about that.
So a lot of locals around Brooksville know the history and what happened, and all know it's
Absolutely.
the creepy haunted house.
Absolutely. In fact, in Dr. Stringer's bedroom, people have said that they can see a spirit looking out the window at nighttime. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I've never seen it myself. But people have said that over the years. So that's one of the reasons why the police don't like to go in there, because they've seen that there's nobody in the house and they don't want to go near that.
Right.
Now, at nighttime, our nighttime tours are by reservation only. There's only 10 people that can come to a group, and you have to be a minimum of 16 years old. That's when we go through the dark sides. That's when we go through some of the deeper stories. We don't take you through and show you all the artifacts. We tell you basically what happened in the house. The first 3 rooms are a condensed version and an expanded version of the daytime tour. The rest of the house, we just talk about what happened and what we've seen in each room and how this has some type of activity that could possibly be there. And then what we do is at 9 o'clock, we let you go investigate throughout the house on your own. We don't walk with you. We will help you. We will be there. There's one person on each floor to assist anybody that needs to be assisted,
Right.
or we'll investigate with you. There is one that is sometimes at 10 o'clock to 2 in the morning. That is usually by a special group. And then we have Saturday night tours as well, which are private groups. So it's a fun way of doing it. And if you have it, the private groups are booked out until 2024 already. So if you want to get on that, you jump on that. So you can at least get on it as soon as possible.
Yeah, we have Bonnie's number to get a hold of her for that.
I think, I think that's, if you're going to do a full group, it's tough. That's the hardest one, because it's only to that group. So we don't, and it could be one person, it could be 10 people, it could be 20 people, whatever they want.
Right.
So it's completely private. Now, the nighttime one, I don't know how many people they bring. They may only bring 10 people for that too. And that's, I think, still the same price as the private tour. It's given by Jesse and Brooksville Pitt. So he does walk through the house with you guys and gives you lots of equipment that you can use and down there if you don't have your own.
Right.
It's a fun experience. It's a great night out. It's fun. You get to experience one of the most haunted houses in the state of Florida. And you get to see some of the darker history that house has seen. And honestly, Brooksville has a very dark past, because a lot of them didn't want to get away from the Civil War, pre-Civil War ideologies.
Right.
So a lot of stuff has happened in that particular town.
Now,
And it's just fun to walk around.
right. So as you say that, one of the original owner, May, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
Mr. May, he unfortunately had a problem with that, correct? That this not wanting to know. Okay.
He died 2 years after he built the house in 1858 from tuberculosis. He did die in the house. Morena died in the house, and the 2 children died in the house.
Tuberculosis.
So it was Frank Saxon, who was Morena's second husband,
Okay.
that people have said wonderful things about, and people have said some really bad things about.
Yeah.
So I don't know that much about him other than physically what I've heard. And so I have not made up a decision either which way. He was a very prominent person in the area, and he definitely gets respect regardless. Now, what is interesting about that is Christmas. It was the date, the last tour before Christmas, which was my day that I was there. We were ready to close, and I saw this old lady walking up, and she could barely walk. And I was like, "We're closed." Basically, I'm going to just tell her we're closed because it was 3 o'clock.
Right.
And when she walks up to that door, she introduces herself as Dr. Saxon. I'm like, "Whoa, what do you mean, Dr. Saxon?" I said, "Don't you mean Dr. She goes, "No." She goes, I am,
A
let's see,
relative?
she is the youngest son to Frank Saxon's daughter. So Frank Saxon was her granddaughter.
Wow.
Was her grandfather, and she was 99. She was
Wow.
not in good health, and she goes, "I just want to tour this house one more time." And so I probably gave her her last tour of the place, which is one of the
Right.
original
actual
descendants of Frank Saxon's children. Pretty
That's awesome.
incredible. So if she's 99, the other ones are even older. So I'm sure that she's probably the youngest of the youngest.
Right.
So that was really fun. But yeah, Frank Saxon is more of the person that would have had the interaction, because there was a group called the Regulators out there that he pretty much knew, and they caused a lot of trouble because they did not want to they wanted to make sure that the blacks, African Americans, however you want to say it, are kept in their place, because they didn't want them to they were upset that they were free.
right.
So they didn't want to see them have an easy route to freedom, and they made sure of that. And unfortunately, that caused a lot of trouble. And Frank does know at least some of that was going on. Whether he was a part of it, I cannot say. I do not have any evidence to the contrary. But I've heard that there is some out there, and I'd love to find it. So if I ever get a chance to see it, I definitely want to look at it.
Right. That's awesome. Now you said, oh, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I had a question. I remember hearing that there was someone who passed away on the stairs. I don't remember who that was.
Passed away on the stairs?
Yeah, like he got shot outside and then he dragged himself upstairs to meet the wife. Was that
I've
right?
never heard that story
Was
from
that
No.
anybody.
I don't know.
I thought that was it.
No.
There has been something similar to that, but that's one of our keys that I can't say unless you go on the tour.
Right.
But there has been something similar to that,
Gotcha.
where somebody outside of the family did die at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's where it is.
Got ya. How many deaths total do you guys know and that happened in the house?
Well, I know of 4, which is the original family.
Original, right?
Which is the original family and Saxon's 2 kids. I want to say that Dr. Stringer and Mrs. Stringer possibly passed away in the house as well, because I know that I've heard that their funeral was there. So that's 4, 5, 6, James, and 1 other person. So 9, 8.
Wow. Now, do you believe if somebody dies on the property that they go back to their happy place, that they were the most happy? Do you think that'd be their happy place?
It's a possibility. Yeah.
I mean,
I would say somebody that died for sure
right.
and didn't know they died, that could almost absolutely bring them out there. They're stuck. They don't know that they're dead. I've heard of that many times before. But at the same time, it's a wonderful house. You know, I mean, it calls you when you go inside there. I went inside there in 2006 after my best friend had committed suicide, and I was with his mother, and I was trying to make sure that she was okay, and we were trying to get her things to do.
Right.
And I walked in that house, my body left, but my heart and soul stayed. So it's very possible that maybe somebody else did too.
Right.
There are some spirits that we know of that do not live there and live in other houses outside of the, like some of the ones behind the house and stuff
Right.
that were there during the Stringers time, maybe they were friends of some of the Stringers kids. Maybe they're just a
Come in
neighbor.
to visit the house and pop in and pop out type thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the Dolan house, right behind the Dolan house, there's a brown Victorian, and right next to that, there's a white house that the Mays parents had. So those three houses were there when the original structure was built, or when Dr. Stringer had bought it.
Right.
So those three are probably some of the oldest houses. I'm sure that they had a lot of friends and stuff that they hung out with, and it's very possible that some of them are there too.
Absolutely. A house that big, you gonna have to have money to have a house like that back in those days. Absolutely. Now, I understand that Stringer was Stringer was a doctor. He practiced medicine. The original owner, May, you said he was a carpenter.
Mm-hmm. He was a carpenter and farmer.
Did he build that? Did he build the house himself, or?
He did. He built the original 4-room structure. So he basically built it, and when you're in the foyer looking at the main door into the parlor, that was the front door. Wow. And so you were walking on a porch. The porch wrapped around and went all the way to the back. And then there was like a porch above it, because to get to the upstairs, you had to walk outside and go up the stairs there. And then you walked across the hallway, which is the covered hallway now. But at that point in time, it was like a 2-deck porch. And it probably had an awning on top of it as well. So that way you wouldn't get wet. Right. And that led you into the 2 master bedrooms, which also had an outdoor transom. So you could open it up and let the air come in and circulate.
That's awesome. Do you have any other questions for her?
We have a question. Was this house also a plantation?
The what? Was
the house also a plantation?
It did have slaves there when it was a farmhouse, but it did not. It's not a plantation. No.
Okay. So we have one more picture for you.
We wanted to talk about the babies.
Yeah. The babies, yeah.
So the original family, unfortunately, all of the kids died also from tuberculosis, as he said. What was the little girl's name that died?
Jessie May.
Okay.
And there had been a lot of speculation. In fact, if you look online, there is so much information. People have said that she was murdered. Some people have said she was thrown over the balcony. Some people said she was sick. Now, when Frank Saxon's granddaughter came in, of course, I took every opportunity to ask what the heck happened.
Right.
And she goes, she was never talked about that much. It was something that really bothered him.
Right.
But she was born sick. She survived. And then when she got sick again at the age of 3, she passed away. Wow. So she was not murdered. She was not thrown over the edge of the balcony. Right. So despite what anything says, that came directly from her great aunt.
Right.
Or that was this lady's great aunt. Or it would be great aunt, because that would have been her father's sister.
Right.
That's
such a cool experience to be
Oh my
there.
God, yeah. I have a picture of her, which I did have, and it is hanging in the gift shop, because she stood by a picture of her grandfather, and we took a picture of her.
That's awesome. So these dolls that we're about to show, were these donated like all the other antiques that?
There are 4 pieces in that house that are part of the Stringer family. Nothing has survived from anybody else. And those are all in the parlor. These have been donated to us. The one on the right happens to be like a typical doll of the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it is made out of paper. It's made out of sawdust and like a porcelain face,
Right.
and I want to say like a glass eye. And the one on the left is our haunted doll. She did not come with a spirit that I know of. But there is a spirit in that house that is attached to her, a little girl. And that doll is made out of paper mache and paper and sawdust. Now, think about this. She surpasses the house by at least 10 years. So
Right.
we're thinking at least 1840s, potentially 1830s. And
That's,
so she's extremely rare, fragile, beautiful, and in excellent condition.
yeah, no,
Like
they
I
are.
tell people during the tour, I want to look that good at 70, let alone 180.
Yeah, right.
But basically, if you really want to look at it, Andrew Jackson was president when that doll came out, or
Wow.
one of those two presidents shortly after him.
Right. That's awesome. No, they're beautiful. They're really cool antiques. Do you think that the doll that this Jessie May plays with the doll?
I think she does. Yeah. There have been times where we have like little bricks out there and like little toys, and they would be missing and then found throughout the house. So
Right.
we don't play with them. I mean, it is possible that something may have gotten in there, rat or something like that. We all have that
Right.
throughout the years, and so that could have been a logical explanation, but it does continue to happen. Now, sometimes when I go in there on Friday nights and do like the nighttime ghost tour, I like to wear dangly earrings because sometimes, like, I had these like paddle ones. They look like a teardrop, and she would pick them up and they would like go like this and pull, and then come out like this, and then they drop. So
Wow.
she likes to play with it, or sometimes she'll like do one of these type of things to them. It's really
Right.
fun. And sometimes I've had her pull on my skirt if I wore a skirt or pants, trying to get my attention, and it comes like to mid thigh, and she's like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, so
Does
that's
does
pretty
that
fun.
happen a lot?
It does. It has happened to me at least 3 times.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Now, that particular doll, though, we don't touch, not only because of how old she is, but if we move that doll, holy hell breaks loose. We had a metaphysical fair about a month and a half ago, and we moved the cradle downstairs basically to represent like Jessie May's funeral. Basically, what it was is a place where people could sell a whole bunch of like crystals, do tarot card readings, books, whatever, outside. And inside, what we did was we took people through the early Victorian mourning processes, funerals, communication. So we moved her downstairs as like the funeral, because if you look on the wall, you'll see a picture of Jessie May in her casket underneath the Frank Saxon portrait. And so, yeah, that's what we had downstairs. And when we moved that downstairs, that room became we had a paranormal group go in there, and they set up like probably 10, 15 different instruments. And I was in the communications room, and the communication room, we were doing like the old dowsing rods, tea reading, tea leaves, stuff like that. That room was going off, and it sounded like a little symphony going off in there. Lights were going off. Little things were laughing because they have like those little toys that would laugh and stuff like that if you touch them. Music boxes going off, all kinds of stuff. It was incredibly nuts. And so when we put the doll room back, it's like the activity settled down. We really haven't had too many major things since then
Right.
in that room.
Now,
So we don't like to touch that doll. That doll
Yeah.
is special.
Now, you guys said you guys do events and you do the little haunted houses, you do that. So when you move these rooms around and you move all these objects around, does the activity heighten?
It does. It totally does. Not so, I honestly have never had that much problem when it was during the haunted house. Generally, a lot of people experience stuff outside. But when we put it back, it gets weird. So a lot of weird things happen in the house after that when we put it back to the way it was. Because I think they're like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
And so it takes them a little while to figure out what happened. And when everything goes back to normal, they're like, oh my God, what happened? And then so they start to make all their stuff happen.
So what you've been doing this for how many, like about a year, right?
Yeah, I started January 7th of 2022. And I have been doing it ever since. So what is it now? It's almost July. So about a year and 6 months, I've been doing the daytime tours, and about a year and a month, I've been doing the nighttime tours.
Got ya. So if a paranormal team wants to come in and do an overnight investigation, I know we want to.
We're
really
planning
bad.
We're
Would-
trying to get in as soon as we can.
But what would you recommend for a team trying to come in and investigate the Stringer house?
Like what? How to go about trying to get in there?
Right.
The best thing you can do is call the museum. We will take a message and send it to Bonnie. Bonnie will reach out to you. If you want to do the nighttime tours and you want to be specifically on a Saturday, let us know so we can let her know that. If you're open to Friday nights, which is where you probably will see me, or you might see the other two that do it. We do rotate every other week. That one is $10. That one is $20 to get in. It is booked up, but it's not booked up as far as the other ones. So if you want to get a taste of it and get your feet wet, I would say do that one too, just so you can get in and experience it. It's not as intense as the other ones
Right.
that give you free reign throughout the entire thing. But regardless, I would say call in advance and give much notice. If you are put on a waiting list, which you probably will, if something opens up, the first people that have been waiting will be asked if they want to come in and fill those slots.
Got
So if somebody calls out, so as long as they don't call out a couple hours before, we can usually say, "Hey, look, I know you're coming in like August. We have
Right.
an opening for 3 people. You had 3 people. Do you want to take this week?" And if they can't, then they can't. But we definitely try to do due diligence and make sure that we get those people that are booked out far a better chance.
Right. Now, do you guys accept donations, or you charge to do the overnights?
The
How-
overnight's $250, and it ends at 2:00 in the morning. You can donate anytime to anything that we need. It goes to help, even the ghost tours. It goes to help the upkeep of the house.
Right.
As you can imagine, it's quite expensive. It's quite old, and so maintaining it and finding people skilled enough to be able to maintain some of those walls that are plaster and everything else is hard.
Right.
You know, and when you do find them, you're paying top dollar. You know,
Yeah.
we try to also make sure that we keep the antiques in good shape, you know, and keep the grounds in good shape and add to it. Like what we've just done is we added security cameras, which also allow us to sometimes see things that go bump in the night.
Right.
So sometimes if we catch that, we might even put that on there.
Have you guys thought about doing a live stream?
Yeah, we Brooksville Pit does that. They come in sometimes throughout the week, and we'll set up in different rooms, and usually more in the summertime. I think they do that,
Right.
but they haven't done as many because we have been literally booked with tours, so it's very hard for them to set up, and they have to set up after the tour, which can take a little bit of time. So. They haven't done as many, but they still do it. Brooke goes up there and puts them up, and so does I can't remember his name right now. I just said it. I'm pulling a blank. Jesse.
Got ya.
Do you? Where would people be able to watch that at?
Brooksville Pit's website, Facebook.
Okay.
They do like Facebook Lives, and they have all the cameras set up, and it goes 24 hours. So it will go until the next morning when there's a tour. Usually what they do is they'll do it like a Saturday night when everybody's gone, because then they have all day Sunday, because
Right.
they don't do tours on Sunday or Monday.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Um.
I know I have millions of questions. I want Sarah to.
Sorry. Just looking at what all we wrote down. Do you want to talk about what's happened between your first night and? Oh yeah, you said you had a story about a recent event, a recent.
I've
thing
had
that-
2. I have
Yeah.
had 2 that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. These are fun. So I'll go with the first one that just happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we had a group. It was a birthday group of 9 teenage girls. So between the ages of 16 and 17.
Oh, I'm sure
And,
that was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And honestly, it was I didn't know how it was going to go, because sometimes kids can either be too rambunctious or, they can get out of hand. Sometimes they're perfect angels, and
Right.
they were perfect angels. We had a great time that night. And so we were in the children's room and we really weren't getting much. And so I said, let's break out the flashlight and do the flashlight trick. And nothing was happening. So I'm like, well, let's go upstairs. Gary loves to do the flashlight. So I took him upstairs. I had gotten in there. I just set it up and I laid it on the top of the trunk. And there was a bottle, like a shot of Fireball at the end, and there was a top hat. And we had asked if, first of all, if he wanted Chris, who was the docent with me, if he wanted him to leave. And generally, Mr. Nasty does not like Chris in there. So he said yes, and he lit up the light. The girls were so shocked, right? So they're like, bye, Chris. And so he's sitting outside looking in at us. And then I said, okay, do you want me here? If you do, turn off the light. And it stayed on. And I said, okay. I asked something else, and I was trying to get it to turn off the light. Once the light turned off, I said, okay, I know you don't like when I touch your trunk. Do you want me to touch your trunk? And I said, if you do want me to touch the trunk, keep the light off. If you don't want me to touch the trunk, turn the light on. And so I started moving my hand towards it. I wasn't going to touch it, but I was going to move it towards it. And as I got close to it, the light turned on, and the bottle of Fireball was knocked off and thrown at the girls. The girls, everybody screamed. They're running outside. Chris is just like, oh my God, as he's going to get run over by all these teenage girls. And he's like, did you do that? I said, no, I didn't. I didn't even touch the trunk yet. And so the light was still on. I said, okay, Gary, you made your point. Turn off the light. It turned off. I picked up the bottle and put it back on the thing. And we were talking to him that entire night with that light coming on. But that was one of my experiences. But throughout the time, there has been another docent, Jen, that has done that. And sometimes the flashlight gets knocked off at her head. So she's been hit a couple times by her own flashlight. So it can get a little intense. Also, when I was up there, we were doing a voice spirit box. We were all laying on the ground. And it said, do you know who's here? And it says, hi, Emma. I was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
So that was like a direct connection.
Yeah.
The next major thing that I had, probably one of the most intense outings I've ever had there, was during the metaphysical fair. It was about 3:00 in the afternoon. And what we did is, on the stairway coming down from the landing that would bring you into the attic, we put Catherine's picture up there. And right below it, the stair below it, we had her crystal ball. We don't show her crystal ball because people are trying to do bad things with it and do things to it. So we have that hidden in the house. This is the first time I saw the ball myself. And so throughout the day, we were getting all kinds of interactions. Catherine was not happy that stuff was out and not safe. Probably around 3:15, I hear this thud. I'm like, oh my God, somebody got hurt, So I ran outside there to realize nobody got hurt, but the picture of the May Stringer house that was just in basically a mat board,
right,
thrown down the stairs and landed on the picture below.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, I'll go up there and put it back, right? So I picked it up, got to the top of the stairs where it is, walked over a little bit, put it on the little handle. Now, in 1 year and 4 months at the time, that has never moved. I've never seen it move. As I'm walking down the stairs, I feel two hands like this push on my back. And as I'm pushing, I'm starting to slide. My foot came off one of the stairs. I tripped and I fell and I held myself. It's still pushing me. As I get down to the pole, I swung around and I'm grabbing onto the pole like this. You can see my dress being twisted and pulled downwards.
Wow.
I'm holding on as best as I can. And I was literally, I was inches from the crystal ball and her portrait. And as I'm being pulled, everybody's looking at me screaming. And if I had let go, I would have fallen down maybe 8 stairs, wooden stairs, and then I would have shattered my head on the display that was full of glass back then. It's an old one, so it probably got plate glass. I probably would have been killed or seriously injured.
Right.
And I yelled at Catherine. I said, Catherine, I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to end up breaking your ball by accident. And it stopped. My dress was let go. I was able to pull myself back up. And everybody's like, oh my God, that was not staged, was it? I said, I wish it wasn't. And then as I turned around, the pitcher shot off and hit me again. And this time it hit me in my chest. So the first time I wasn't there, this time it hit me. I was like, oh, heck no, you didn't. So I grabbed the pitcher, walked it back up, put it back on the display, walked back down, and everything was fine. People are running the heck out of there. Shortly after that, we heard an awful commotion. We ran upstairs to find out that one of the windows was physically pushed off the frame. It was laying on top of the arrowheads.
Wow.
And the plexiglass that we have going up into the cupola, it has like a really thick thing of wood around it, so it's heavy. Was picked up and moved over. We needed to go get a ladder to move it back over.
Wow.
So she was not happy that day. But that was probably the closest thing I could possibly say to being seriously injured by a ghost.
That just sounds like it's like a scene out of like Poltergeist or like that's.
I mean, I wasn't mad. I was actually excited that it was happening to me, but I was glad it happened to me, not somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I actually look for that kind of stuff sometimes, and I want that interaction. Maybe not as violent. But I'm not scared of those type of things. And so I'm, like I said, out of anybody that could have happened to, I'm glad it happened to me.
Right. Do you waiting for you guys just sit there until guests come for the daytime tours? Do you do your own little investigations just to pass the time?
Sometimes, yeah. I have been sitting in the hallway in Dr. Stringer's bedroom, the new one. And I have heard people walking up in the attic, and I go upstairs and nobody's there. I have literally seen what I thought was like one of my team members, or maybe somebody that just came into the house that needed to go grab something upstairs. They would go walking upstairs, and when they get to the attic, I thought that's where they were, and I would like, oh hey, how are you doing? And nobody said anything, so I'd go up after them, and there's nobody there. Wow. And I had vision of that in the entire time. So they should have, if there was a real person, they would have still been there.
Right.
And there was nobody there.
It just makes me want to go there even more.
It's motivation.
But we also have to mention, if you're rewatching this on Facebook or YouTube, thank you for watching. We greatly appreciate the support. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave comments. We want to know what you guys have to say. If you're trying to get in contact or anything, you have a Facebook also, correct?
Yeah, there's a Facebook on there that you can see. We have two. We have one for the ghost tours, and we have one for the museum. And each museum has their own Facebook. So we have one for the train depot, the schoolhouse, and the May Stringer house. Either which way, we pretty much share all that information. So if something happens and you get to the wrong one, they will share it to the other ones too.
Got you. I'm gonna throw the website up again for everybody.
Where would people be able to donate for you guys, like online? Is that it?
There is one there. You can go to you can go into the membership, I want to say, and I think there's a spot to donate. You can also come up and give a donation anytime that you want, that we're open. We gladly accept that. And if you want to mail something to the museum too, you can always mail a check or something. We definitely appreciate that.
Nice.
So, there's lots of ways of doing it. And of course, after a tour, if you want to give a little extra tip to the museum, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Got ya. So
I think that covers everything we wanted to talk about for right now. I'm sure we'll definitely be doing this again.
Yeah, we definitely need to have you back again. like I said, you also have the train depot and you have the schoolhouse that we could also talk about.
Yeah.
So every week we have a question of the week. I'm gonna play the little clip for you. Everybody in the comments, you're more than welcome to answer it. And I would like your take on it, just because of Brooksville and the land and everything that's happened at the Stringer House, with even before that, with the Indians, with all the Florida history. Let's play the clip and you can answer it after. So everybody in the comments, what's your take? Do you believe that land can be haunted? What's your take on that, Emma?
I believe, yeah. I mean, we don't know what happens on this land.
Yeah.
If you really look about it, Gettysburg is probably one of the most haunted land in the world. And
Absolutely.
to tell you the truth, there's not really much built on it. So you just don't know what took place. A lot of times the Native American land can cause your house, a brand new house, to be haunted.
Absolutely.
In fact, if you know the Land O'Lakes area, in Land O'Lakes, there's a subdivision called Lake Paget East. And if you know Shining Star and anywhere down Aaron's Cutoff, that was an old Native American area. And so a lot of people have seen Native Americans walking out the backwoods. My house was severely haunted, and it was built in 1979. So at the time when I moved there, I was only 10 years old.
Wow.
So it wasn't old enough to experience any type of like physical murder, and we know nothing happened in the house.
Right.
So why it was haunted like that, it just doesn't make sense. So honestly, it really depends on the history of the land, and that's why I think it's important that when you do investigations at any property, anybody's property, find out a little bit more about the land too.
Yeah.
It
Right.
does. It has been there a lot longer than any house has ever stood.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's been around a lot longer than we have. I think soil can be tainted itself.
And then think about this: in Florida, one of the biggest reasons that we have sinkholes is because we have
Natural limestone.
limestone. Yes,
Yeah.
limestone is a good conductor of energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it can literally capture a situation, a really tragic situation, or scary situation, and replay that. So it may not be a physical ghost; it may simply be like a projector, a movie playing back over and over and over again. But it's still paranormal, regardless. It should not be happening. So because of Florida's limestone capacity, it does give us an advantage over other places because of the energy that it contains.
Right. Now, do you believe that's why Brooksville is so haunted, other than like I know other parts in Florida have some really haunted area, but from what I understand, Brooksville has like a really high dense of paranormal. Do you just think because the way that the South used to be, more Brooksville's more slave, more
Tainted.
and just violence and the bad stuff that happened at Brooksville? Do you think that's why Brooksville is so haunted, other than other parts of Florida?
It's possible. I mean, there is a Spring Hill Cemetery, which is basically a Native African American cemetery that a lot of people have gone over there and desecrated in order to do seances and other types of things. Sometimes it was just hatred of that race, and so they just would go in there and dig up the bodies.
Right.
So that in itself is so haunted that a lot of times, and there's so much damage done to it, that they don't even allow people in it really that much anymore, without physically contacting people to let you in, like if your
Right.
family's in there. But at the same time, there was right up the street, the Dade Battlefield. There has been the Seminole Indians that were one of the main groups in that area.
Right.
And there was a lot of problems between the white settlers and them in that area. Of course, you have the slaves that were on there beaten, all kinds of other things inside the area. A lot of racism has taken place there. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for that to occur.
Right.
But again, I think it's a lot of the things that happened on it. A lot of that was sacred Native American land.
Right.
And if they did any type of ritual on it, it's just
Right.
like doing it. It's just like going up there and doing a pentagram and doing some type of seance for the devil or anything like
Right.
that.
Right. So we got a couple people that answered. Let's go through this. Crystal says yes, she believes in it. Harlem, it says depends on the land and the history of the land. It's pretty much what we were just saying. Absolutely. Yes, I think even at times it can cause houses or whatever haunted property to be portals for the different spirits already there. Speaking of good thing with portals, do you think like there is portals in the Stringer house for spirits to come in and out, or?
I've heard that there is. Now, I have no proof of that. I have
Right.
never had anybody come in and validate it, but I've heard it from other people. I've heard it from some docents. But again, there's been a lot of stuff I've heard from docents that have been wrong.
Right.
So I take everything with a grain of salt until I have physical proof of that. But with the amount of ghosts that we've had, I think we've attracted 22 to 27 ghosts throughout the history that we've had it. There's got to be something there. But at the same time, we do have 13,000 artifacts, and it's easy for any of those artifacts to bring it in too.
Absolutely.
So I can't necessarily say it's a portal. I can't necessarily say it's something that was brought in, but it's definitely one of the two.
Right. Yeah, no, that was another thing that I was going to mention. Like, not even just the history of the house, it's the history of all the objects that are brought into there. And I'm a firm believer of people having their precious items and they stick to them.
Mhm.
Like, so we have a clip actually from Harlem that we just mentioned. We told her that we would play it on the clip if you want to watch it.
Yeah.
Bob, if you're just messing with us, flicker the light on and off. I'll count down from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Y'all are seeing this, right? Cause
So that's
My cousin.
her cousin. Do you know what that is?
That's Bob.
Can you explain who Bob is?
I don't really know who Bob is, but he's a spirit that's been in that house. I know they've had a couple spirits that have been in pretty much every house they've been in.
Got ya.
Just because they have so many haunted, like so many old items, like a lot of antiques that I grew up seeing. That like the Santa, I don't like the Santas,
Got ya.
but
So
their spirit only responds to Bob.
I
It's
just
silly.
gotta have a couple more questions. I know it's getting late. I apologize.
Yeah.
But do you ever have, working there for so long, have you guys had anything follow you guys home from the house? Like attachment wise, or
Knock on wood, no.
no? Okay.
But
Not.
But if there was anything that could have come from it, it was something that I did. So we had a surplus of typewriters. So I had bought that typewriter from there. And if that is metal, that could have literally attracted anything with
Absolutely.
it. So if there was a way of getting it there, that's probably one way. And I can show you this. This I bought at the gift shop there, and this is from 1803. So
Wow.
this is Thomas Jefferson was president at this time when this book was made, and it's a catechism and Bible study, and it's super cool.
That is cool.
And so this in itself being what almost 300 years old,
Yeah.
and then the typewriter that I bought, very possible
And
that
they
I could
were
have brought something home, but luckily I have not so far, and I'm very thankful for that. But basically, when I leave, I try to treat them like my friends. So I try to say hi, goodbye. I'm here to tell your story, and I just tell them don't follow me home, and
Right.
they do have to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to close this, do you have anything else that you want to mention? Events coming up or anything with the Stringer House?
We don't have any events coming up, but it is July, and we're going to start the prep for our Halloween event, our haunted house. So we are looking for vendors. If you sell crystals, or you do tarot card readings, or you have anything that you want to sell, we are looking for vendors. I don't know how much it is. I'm not even going to say a price because it may have changed, but it's very reasonable for the entire weekend, 2 weekends. So it's like under $100, and you
Okay.
can be there. We're also looking for sponsors for it as well. It's $100. You get to put out a banner, which is hung on the house or around the property for people to see. So if you don't have anything to sell, but you definitely want to get your name out there,
Right.
we bring in thousands of people for the entire event, so it will be seen by many, many people.
Right.
It may even be on some special videos. Sometimes people come in and they do a walkthrough to try to promote it as well, and they'll see all that stuff as well. So yeah, definitely, if you want to be a part of that, just contact the May Stringer House and tell us that you want to either sponsor or you want to have a vendor slot. We do have food as well, and we are always looking for good food. So if you have a food truck and you want to help feed the people, we definitely need that. So hopefully it'll be a better event than it was even last year. And last year was a pretty big success. And if you want to volunteer to help us with that and be an actor, we're always looking for more people as well to do. So you can come in and be a scare actor, or you can be outside and just help us patrol the area. Yeah, come on out.
Yeah, I've been a haunt actor for 13 years.
Then why haven't you been there yet?
Because you're 3 hours away.
Yeah, I'm all
We
the
have different rooms that we could set up that you can actually be a scare actor, and you set it up, you prop it, you do whatever you need to do, and it's your room. And so you could do that, or you could work outside in the maze and scare people.
That's cool. We're
So-
definitely gonna talk
Yeah, we'll
about
talk
that
about that.
person one-to-one.
Yeah.
So if you
Well-
want to volunteer, definitely reach out to the May Stringer House. You can call us. We'll take down the information, get it to the right person, and then we'll call you back and see if we can get you aboard, because we need the help. I mean, the more help that we get, the more cooperation we get, the better the event it is.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So.
All right.
That sounds awesome.
Well,
And if they want to be a volunteer during the day, we need daytime docents as well, badly. So we haven't been open on Tuesdays because we don't have enough docents. And so we definitely want to open back up on Tuesdays, and we would love there. We need some at the train depot. We need some at the schoolhouse. It's not that long. It's 4 hours a day. And you can do one day, you could do multiple days, but we need the help.
now,
If I lived closer, I'd definitely volunteer.
do you guys train on the history of the place?
Yep, you'll walk behind us. You'll learn us. We'll go through the tour. When you feel strong enough to do it, we'll set you free, and you can go be your own docent. And it's like like I said, Fridays and Saturdays are probably the easiest to book. And I'm there every Friday from about 11 a.m. till about 3 p.m. And then I stay there for the nighttime tour as well. So I don't go home. I just stay at the Stringer House. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we need people. And if you know anybody that even wants to just work on the outside grounds, we need groundskeepers too. So that's very important.
Okay.
All right.
Are you Are you
I think that-
satisfied
yes.
of the Mace Stringer?
Yes. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get enough of the Mace Stringer home.
No, definitely. I
We
want
really
to greatly
appreciate your time.
appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, Emma. I
Thank you for
know
talking
there
to
was a
us.
certain amount of stuff that we're not allowed to talk about. You can always go to the tour. I promise you, it's very worth it. Makes me want to go drive there tomorrow.
Oh, we've been wanting
if
to
we
go, but
could.
this is just it's
Come
literally-
Friday, you can tour with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have Saturday off, so
Dang it.
yeah. But if we ever do get an investigation, we'll definitely try to get you as our tour guide, just because we're friends, and now that we built this relationship, I feel like it'd be more personal and more, But I'm all set. I want to greatly appreciate you coming and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. This is fun. I love talking about the house. That house is part of me. It's made me a better person.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we get to see you soon.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Have
much
a great
for your
night,
time.
Emma.
You too.
We'll let you enjoy the rest of your night. You have a good night.
Have a great night.
Good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye. So that was our interview.
Mace Stringer House. We told you we would bring you something special this week. Since we didn't get to do a video last Wednesday, we promised. Did we deliver? Did you like the interview? If you like the interview, go to our Facebook, go to our YouTube, hit that like, subscribe, and share. Put our comments up there. I feel like they deserve a couple of videos.
They do, but my thing just cut out for lives. I just said it was waiting for a signal. I don't know what happened.
So
Anyways,
we brought this up a couple weeks ago. We did a little investigation at Manatee Historic Society.
oh yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody what this is?
Manatee Historic Society, or the Manatee Historical District, is the oldest little town area where they have houses, the original church, the original courthouse, the original schoolhouse, and the original boatyard building that came from Manatee County, that when it was established with, I can't remember his name. Fogartyville.
There you go.
Yeah.
So basically, this is where the settlers settled in Bradenton. This is their church.
It's not the actual original location.
But they
but
moved
it's right-
everything to a general area to stick.
Basically downsized because everything was being renovated and built on,
Right.
and they wanted to preserve that part.
Right.
So they moved it all to where the original cemetery was, where the original founders who came from Palmetto came down, Cortez.
Yeah.
Cortez came down and established Bradenton, and they moved everything to centralize it into a small historical center.
So this first video, we had the REM pod going, we had the millimeter going, and the spirit box. There's a couple voices off the spirit box, but what I really want you to look at, the millimeter was fluctuating to like 2.3 to like a couple of them to like 0.4 or 4.0,
It went up to 9.
and it went up to this.
Do you not like it when people use the word name?
All right, Reverend.
Can you do it again? If you can do it again, we'll promise not to say any bad words.
Reverend, can you make it go off one more time for me, please?
We promise to keep our mouths clean again.
Reverend, what's your name? Reverend, we're here for So, what was going on in this one? It was, we were asking the Reverend if they wanted us to be there.
Yeah, because when we first went into the church and into the buildings, we did not have permission to film and walk around inside. Like, we wanted to do it properly and ask if we could go in and bring our technology in, bring our
Awesome. Thank
equipment
you,
in.
Amber. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So we asked if we could bring our equipment in, and they said yes, as long as we don't, get in people's way. We don't tell them, hey, you can't be in here while we're filming. We're being polite and doing everything respectfully. And the first time we went in, I felt like we weren't welcome. I felt like I was being pushed out. Like, hey, you shouldn't be in here. Get out. This is my space. I don't want you in here. Like, it felt like I was just unwelcome. And I kept telling him that. So the second time we came in, after getting permission, after doing a little walk around of everywhere else of the area, we came back in, and on the spirit box, I've noticed afterwards, I didn't notice it the first time, I heard, just wait. And then when we were standing there, I was telling him how uneasy I was feeling, and we heard, she's right.
Out of the spirit box.
Out of the spirit box, clear as day. We also had the cat balls going off when we were asking if they wanted us to leave. And in that video, he was asking, do you want us to leave? Do you want us to not be in here? Mess with that if you don't want us in here anymore. And that spiked all the way from a 0 to a 9. 9.1.
Yeah. So, and the second video, this is more towards the end of the little investigation we were doing, which was crazy because we had a couple people coming through the church and they were really excited and really thought it was really cool that what we were doing there. And they had just left, and then we pretty much had the church to ourselves for a good 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's when we started to set up our equipment.
And like when there was nobody in there, that's when I felt more personal to just me and the Reverend.
We also had his name after that point.
So I asked, did you like us to leave, Reverend? If you would like us to leave, I'll say a prayer for us and then we'll leave. And this is what happened.
So we're gonna go.
Can you touch my cat ball for me one more time, please? Sure. Do you not like me talking? Do you like Sarah talking to you?
Alright, he said we were here to make that cat ball go off, so we're gonna go. It went off several times.
It did.
Also, if anyone wants to turn up their volume when they're watching this, and if you listen in and you hear anything that we miss, go ahead and comment down below and we'll add it in.
Absolutely. So I feel like
We covered.
There's a couple more clips that we haven't released yet.
There's a lot that we haven't released yet, and I think we should edit and
So
work
come
on
back
them.
next week.
We're
Come
still
back
working
next
on them.
week. We have a special guest again next week.
I don't know about this special guest.
It's the guest that we had
Oh.
to try to get for our very first interview. My
yeah.
very good friend Henry for the Gilchrist County Jail. He'll actually be here live
on Monday.
from the jail, the Gilchrist County Jail in Trenton, Florida. Unfortunately, last time that we tried to have an interview with him, he didn't have any
Yeah,
power,
his power went out.
and it's completely okay. I still love you, brother. But next week, I can't guarantee that it'll be Wednesday. Unfortunately, I just got a new
Yeah.
job.
We're gonna be possibly switching up our live schedule to match with his days off so that we can have his days off to focus on this.
Right. And we'll always look
We'll
up for
always
the
make the
updates. I feel like that was a really good interview.
Yeah, it was. It was nice talking to her. For our next interview is going to be I won't be in the interview after that. So basically, our next interview is my last one for a couple weeks.
Or
I mean,
we
sitting
can have
here.
up to 3 people here.
I mean, sitting here with you,
Oh,
having a personal experience.
she loves me.
I do.
She really does.
I do. Might not look like it, but I do.
And on that note, people,
Thank you all.
thank you.
We'll see us on YouTube.
And if you're rewatching this,
Thank you.
thank you for hanging out.
Hi,
Thank you for
Sophie.
sticking it out.
We know she's going to be watching this.
I love you. I love you, baby.
I love you.
All right.
Thank you to all our friends and
Remember-
family.
Always stay creepy, my friends.
Love you.
See you guys.